Let's chop it up on this beautiful Thursday afternoon, Who Dat Nation. So we're going to talk about an ESPN article that suggested the Saints go and trade up for a very high-profile NFL draft target. Plus, there's some interesting and intriguing pre-draft meetings that the Saints had recently. And then we're also going to get into some subscriber shout-outs from yesterday's video. I told you I was going to give you a shout-out if you guys were subscribed, so we got 5 of y'all getting a special shout-out here in today's video. Without further ado, let's get after it. Now, before we break down today's Saints draft rumors and draft buzz, I want you to go down and join our squad if you are a proud member of the Who Dat Nation. We take pride here at Saints Now in being a Saints channel by Saints fans for Saints fans, so help us out and subscribe today. So in today's show, let's go ahead and break it all down. I know this is probably why you clicked on today's video, but ESPN suggested that the Saints trade up and go and draft defensive tackle Jalen Carter. And so this is an interesting idea. It's an interesting trade idea, and here's what they cooked up. I'm just going to give my reaction and give my thoughts on it here in a minute, but here's what the trade idea was. So the Saints would receive the 6th overall pick from the Detroit Lions, and then their third round pick at number 81 overall, whereas the Lions would go and receive the number 29 overall pick, which is where the Saints, traded to go and get they traded away Sean Payton, got their first-round pick in there from the Denver Broncos, which was also like with the Niners and the Dolphins and pretty much any other team. The second-round pick at number 40 overall, but then also trade away next year's first-round pick to go and get Jalen Carter. Sound familiar? It's kind of something similar what they did last year to go and get Chris Olave as well as Trevor Penning. So let's see what ESPN had to say on this trade idea. If the Saints need a defensive tackle, why not go all the way to the top of the class and take top-ranked tackle Jalen Carter? It would cost them 2 first-round picks and a swap of a second-rounder for a third-rounder, but who cares? The Saints will just deal their 2025 first-round pick to reacquire a first-rounder in 2024. The NFL's oldest team is going to try and win now, even if winning now means 9 games and a 14-point loss in the wild card round as a 4-seed. ESPN can sugma. It would also be tough for the Lions to drop down from number 6 to this spot, but they would grab another second-round pick with the right place to target a tight end. Given the possibility of the Saints collapsing in 2023, the Lions might very well land another top 10 pick for being patient. So first off, before I get into my thoughts on the idea, why does ESPN hate the Saints? Like, why do you automatically assume that they're going to go and, lose in the wild card round, win 9 games, get blown out in the first round of the playoffs? That's just absolutely atrocious. That's just so disrespectful. I have no idea why they are so low on the Saints. They could easily go win 10, 11 plus games, no problem, because they have a very easy schedule, as well as the fact the NFC South is dog water, as we all know. But let's get into the trade idea. I want you guys to break it down for me and give your reaction. Would you make this trade to go and get Jalen Carter or another high-profile, draft target? Type T for trade, type D for don't. Let me know, Who Dat Nation. I will be interacting with y'all in the comments section. If you get hit with a YouTube ad break, take advantage of it. Just scroll on down, share your thoughts, come back up, and by the time you're done, the video will be playing again. All right, so in terms of Jalen Carter and whether or not the Saints should go and draft him, Jalen Carter's an interesting prospect. He's definitely a talented cat. He is definitely one of those guys that you bring him on your team and he's going to be an immediate impact player. In 13 games played in 2022 for the Bulldogs, the national champion team, he was a big part of the back-to-back national championships for Georgia. He had 32 tackles this past season, 7 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 3 pass breakups. And in terms of scouting Jalen Carter, he has great power and great burst. He could also get some defensive end reps as well, which I think is very valuable, especially with an aging Cam Jordan and the ability to play inside and on the outside. I think just adds to more reason why it maybe makes sense to go and get a player like Jalen Carter. He is an elite block breaker. He can shed blocks. He can get through. He can bulldoze. He has great moves, and I think that he's an interesting target and would be lethal on this Saints defense. Dennis Allen would have a field day with him. He did have some limited sack production, and there are maturity concerns, and the pre-draft process has been poor. But in terms of his measurables, you can see him down below. He is at 6'3", 314 pounds, and he had 33.5-inch arms. And for Carter's pro day, he obviously did not work out at the combine because there was the off-field issue of the car wreck, and there was the player and the staff member who passed away, and there was alleged connection to that, so he did not work out at the combine. However, he did have his pro day not do all that well. He showed up overweight, and he couldn't finish his drills. That being said, in terms of trading away your second-round pick, it kind of makes me nervous not having a second-round pick this year and then also trading away your first-round pick next year. But honestly, if everything checks out, Jalen Carter could be the future of the Saints defensive line. I think that he's a cornerstone piece, and he has the potential to be a generational talent. He is obviously one of the more talented, one of the more intriguing prospects. There's buzz that maybe he could fall because of the pre-draft process not going that well. But I think that the Saints maybe don't go up and trade for him. I wouldn't necessarily go and do that. But I want you guys to rate Jalen Carter as a player. This is the question we're going to come to here in a minute, but I want you to rate Jalen Carter as a player on Madden scale. It's all good, producer Coop. We'll get to that here in just a second, but I want you to rate Jalen Carter as a player on a Madden scale, 1 to 99. Let me know Who Dat Nation. Also, give me a follow on Twitter while you're at it because, love chopping it up with you guys. So let's break down Dorian Thompson-Robinson and whether or not the Saints should go and draft him. If you think he should go and draft him, type D for draft, type P for pass. But Jordan Schultz reporting that DTR, he was a two-time All-Pac-12 pick for the Bruins. NFL teams are intrigued by his ability to move in the pocket, the versatility as a runner. He ran a 4.56 at the combine. That quarterback, the former UCLA Bruin, is visiting with the New Orleans Saints. He visited yesterday on April 19th. So let's take a look at what he was able to do at UCLA in 2022. He had just under a 70% completion percentage, which I don't necessarily hate. In terms of passing yards, 3,154 yards, 27 touchdowns to 10 interceptions. Not a terrible ratio. Could obviously be a little bit better, but not awful in terms of like a late round prospect. Rushing yards, though, 646 rushing yards and 12 rushing touchdowns. The guy's a massive dual threat ability. And let's also scout DTR because I think that he could be an interesting target for the Saints to go and get late in the draft. He has a quick release and a very good arm. He's very tough, and the mobility is a plus. His decision-making did get better this past season. However, it could use some work, and that's why I think it would make sense to bring him in as like a QB3. The accuracy isn't great, 63.3% in his career at UCLA. He had 39 career fumbles, but he only had 10 in 2022, so that's not good in terms of fumbles, and, the Saints had a bad fumbling issue. But let's take a look at the depth chart. I honestly would love DTR over Jake Luton because, Jake Luton was your practice squad guy last year. Jameis Winston, he's back on a one-year deal. He's going to be your backup quarterback to Derek Carr. But in terms of bringing in a QB3, I wouldn't mind drafting him in day 3. I mean, go and get him in the 6th or 7th round. Obviously, go get him in the 7th round. Go get him in the 7th round. I don't think it would be a bad move. It's late, day 3 picks. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. There's even a possibility he may not make the roster, but I think that he would be a better option over Jake Luton, and I think that he would be a decent project to have behind Derek Carr and Jameis Winston. There's not much pressure for him to get on the field and to start immediately. So I think it's at least worth exploring, and if he's on the board, I would love the pick in the 7th round. So let me know, Who Dat Nation, would you draft DTR? We flashed it up a little bit early for you, but I want you to weigh in again and let me know. Type D for draft, type P for pass, and also in yesterday's video, I asked you guys to type Who Dat if you were subscribed, so we have to give some shout outs to 5 real ones: Rudy Rock, J Cool Guy 15, John Shaw, DeQuarius Malone, and Joshua Rose. Joshua, that tux is so fresh. You're looking clean, my guy. Looking iced out, ready for a night on Bourbon Street. Thank you guys for being real ones. Be sure to subscribe if you want to get a shout out in a future video. Now let's break down the final part of today's segment. So I want you guys to keep an eye out on the Maryland defensive back, Deonte Banks, because he has visited with the Saints, and he has a lot of teams that he is visiting with, and for a good reason. He's a very strong tackler, and he only had 9 career missed tackles, which is pretty damn impressive. And let's not act like Maryland's defense is something super extravagant and super incredible and like, a top-tier defense that everyone is talking about every year. He was on an island a lot, and he had to make plays, and he did come through when the Terps needed him to. The size is really fascinating, and he plays very tough, which I love for a prospect on the New Orleans Saints defense. He also tested extremely, extremely well, earning a 9.9 damn near perfect RAS relative athletic score in his combine. He did have 8 flags this year, which is worth noting, and I know the Saints defense and Saints fans, you and I are all very upset and very frustrated at the amount of flags last year, especially on the defense, especially in big moments. And what I will say is there's limited ball production, but there's a lot of room to grow. And as we know, Dennis Allen is a defensive-minded coach. He has a solid coaching staff around him, and I think that Banks could be a great addition to the Saints defensive back room. In terms of the 40-yard dash and the combine measurables and the combine results, 4.35 seconds on the 40, 1.49 seconds in the 10-yard split. He had a 42-inch vertical jump, 11 feet and 4 inches broad jump in the measurables. 6 foot, 197, and 31-inch arms. Now, Deonte Banks for the Terps last year in coverage had a 43.3 completion percentage, 258 yards allowed. He gave up 4 touchdowns, but had 8 pass breakups and 1 interception. And now my overall take on this is I think that cornerback and safety are a sneaky need for New Orleans in the draft and in the rest of the offseason. I think that with Paulson Adebo struggling last year, with Marshawn Lattimore having an injury last year, we all know Latt is one of the best cornerbacks in the game when he's healthy, but the Saints had a very big hole there whenever he was missing time. So I think that going and getting a cornerback or prioritizing a DB would make some sense for the Saints. If a good player like that falls in the first round and, go and take him. But if a guy like a Brian Branch is available, I would love a DB or a safety because I think that is a very sneaky need, and I think it's an underrated need for the Saints, especially safety as well. Tyrann Mathieu, he's great. Go get another guy in case Marcus May misses some time. And in case you have some injuries, just go get depth. But what say you, Who Dat Nation? It's not about me. It's all about you. Should the Saints go and draft a defensive back? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. I want you guys to share your thoughts with me, and y'all know what I'm about to say. I hope you guys have a wonderful Thursday because that means tomorrow's Friday, which means the weekend is right around the corner. Y'all stay golden. We'll catch you next time. See you tomorrow.